we are moving on along to the next common question. With my good friend Shaykh Yasir Qadhi, people ask, they say, well, you know, how is it that the Creator allows a man in Islam to have more than one wife? How is this? How can this be something? They envision now the man with a harem of women.
We'll be right back.
No speech is better than to do da'wah, to call people to Allah and to do the work.
No speech is better.
No, nothing is better than that.
Is it true that if one person on Allah giving you the ability to guide someone with Allah's permission, the Creator's permission, that is better than everything in this world?
Better than the whole world and everything that's in it. In another narration, it's better than the best of wealth. But if we really felt that, Eddie, would we not be out giving da'wah?
And this is something that we encourage all the MSAs, all the dawah organizations, the masjids to get this. We want to print more. We give these to the non-Muslims for free. We want our brothers in humanity to become our brothers in faith. And how do we explain? How do you go into this?
Well, Eddie, this is definitely a question that a lot of Muslims get asked, and it raises a lot of eyebrows, and there's a lot of stereotypes attached to it. And there's no doubt that culturally speaking, it is problematic for many people to understand and envision. But it's true that our religion has allowed a man to marry more than one woman. But it's not just our religion. I mean, this is a well-known fact that many cultures and many societies, and in fact to this day, there are many countries where this is legal, not necessarily Muslim countries. I was in South Africa last week, and their president has, I think, 3 wives.
Yeah.
And this is the president of South Africa, which is a very modern Western country.
You said wives, not girlfriends.
Oh no, yeah, that's the whole point. That's
because some presidents we know have had girlfriends.
I think most presidents of the world.
Most presidents.
Yeah. So what our religion does, and it's really logical, is that if it's possible and capable and everybody is fine with it, then it is permissible for a man to take on more than one woman with certain conditions. This is what our religion has said. And once again, it's not a necessary requirement, it's just an option. And contrary to popular opinion, the vast majority of Muslims have one wife, and that's the way things are, and they're all over the Muslim world. You know, I would say off the top of my head, maybe 90–95%. All over the Muslim world, the vast majority, basically one wife, one husband, everything's fine. Now, our religion does allow for a husband to take on more than one wife, but we're the only religion that has so many conditions attached to it. Now, in other societies and cultures, there are no conditions. Take as many as you want and treat them as you will. In our religion, if any man, if it's legal for him to do so, if he chooses to take on another wife, there are many stringent conditions attached. Of them is equality. Of them is the fact that he must give them similar amounts of time. Of them is that he must be capable of taking care of them. He can't just take on a mistress or girlfriend and then just say, you're my wife. Is that he's got to take care of them. Yeah. All of these are understood, that the husband is going to take care of all of his wives and all of his children equally. And that's a condition that I think is, once again, a very logical condition.
This is something that today, in today's society, what is normal today wasn't normal yesterday. Yeah. Things that are constantly changing according to maybe the people's desires. But if we look back a little bit, this was something that was normal, wasn't it?
Yes, for most societies and cultures around the world, it was indeed normal. Even as every Christian and Jew knows, even in biblical times, the average person had more than one wife, and that's because of the circumstances and situations that they went through. I mean, most of the prophets of God in the Bible had more than one wife. And so, I mean, again, like I said, if a person finds this, culturally he doesn't want to do it, sure, go ahead. It's not necessary to. Not at all. You're not any better Muslim if you have 2 wives or not. Your Islam is not affected. You don't have to. It's not even necessarily encouraged or discouraged. It's a neutral thing. If you want to, and there's a legitimate, reason and cause, and you are justified in making sure you're going to take care of them all equally, it's an option that is available if circumstances are appropriate. If a person doesn't want to, then that's completely permissible as well.
Now, if we even go rationally, because we're trying to solve problems of the world, who would know best how to solve these problems? The Creator of the heavens and earth, wouldn't
Exactly.
He? Yeah. Now, if you just think about it, there's an excess of women. There are. Some say, the Census Bureau, that you have 10 million single mothers out there. You have nearly 700,000 women who lose their husbands each year. Men in jail. Some are leaning towards other men, what's called homosexuality. And now, how do you solve this? You have orphans, 12 million orphans, women, out there without husbands. So what's the solution to this? How is it that we solve this problem?
Yeah, exactly. This is the whole point, is that if you want to talk about justifications, we can go on and on and on and show that this is something that biologically, psychologically, there are a lot of positives. Now, of course, there are some negatives as well. Nobody's denying that. Nothing is 100% perfect in any situation and scenario. There's no doubt that there's some issues involved as well, about taking another wife. But what we would argue is that, theoretically speaking, this would provide far more solutions and be better for society. This is what our religion would say, is that this is something that would bring about far greater good than any negatives that might possibly come about because of that. And as you said, the statistics are quite clear. I think every country really is facing this problem. And men, by nature, they abuse women much more sexually. They just go and have a relationship, then move on to another one. Our religion prohibits that and says, if you want to have a relationship, you better take care of the consequences. You better take care of her as a human being, love her, treat her with respect and dignity, publicly announce she's your wife and the kids are your kids. So there's a lot of psychological factors that, it does make a lot of sense. And in fact, I'm just saying this not related to the religion. Politically speaking, now with the legality of homosexuality, pretty much, legality meaning in terms of modern American laws, is becoming more and more common and legal in many states. I'm from Connecticut, and in Connecticut they've already passed the bill. The next wave is quite clearly going to be polygamy.
It is?
Yes, I have read a number of articles that are out there. There's an article out in the Law and Society Journal of last month or something, where a non-Muslim, nothing to do with Islam, is basically saying, look, if you're going to remove restrictions, you need to remove all restrictions. And therefore, if a person wants to marry more than one person, and they're all agreeing and happy with it, if the government's allowing two men to get married, right, why shouldn't it allow a man to get married to two women?
That doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense at all.
For the truth seeker, the one who's humble and he wants to do what the Creator told, even if he's not now at that stage, but he's just using a good old common sense, he's not being someone who's just looking for trouble, this makes sense. Now there's some people that are pointing the finger, but they don't understand there's four pointing back at them.
Exactly.
So you'll see televangelists, people who are out there, they'll try to make fun of the Muslim, but then you'll switch the channel and you'll hear people like the Jimmy Swaggarts and the Jimmy Bakkers and et cetera, and the list, we can bring them and they'll fill this whole paper and page and beyond. Prostitutes, they're caught with several of them. This is hypocritical, is it?
It is, and it's a very major problem. And of course, we're not denying that this doesn't occur in our own religion as well. Of course, there are Muslims who also fall into these things. We've had cases in our culture, we have cases in other cultures. But the thing that we're arguing for, at least our religion provides a very good solution.
Yeah.
That's what we're arguing for. Nobody's perfect, Christian priests have, the Roman Catholic Church has a Mater scandal. Now, of course, you can point fingers at every culture. I'm sure Jewish rabbis, I'm sure Muslim imams would also, maybe there's some molestations going on as well. But the fact of the matter is that Jews and Muslims have an alternative. You can't expect a human being to dedicate himself to God and not have any desires. Yeah. We would say this is an unnatural state of affairs where you tell this man, do not get married, you're not allowed to get married. We would say it's inevitable that there's going to be a preponderance of promiscuity and molestation amongst those people. Now, pointing fingers, like you said, is easy to do. The point is we have a solution.
Yeah.
And that solution does make a lot of sense. And it's only a matter of time. Like I said, there are already many people arguing the case. And as you know, certain factions of the Mormon Church, not the mainstream Mormon Church, but there's a faction of the Mormon Church that very publicly engages in polygyny, which is one man marrying more than one husband.
Yeah.
By the way, polygamy is too broad because polygamy means...
It's polygyny.
Yeah, polygyny is the more precise one. Polygamy means plurality of spouses. So you can have one man with many wives, or you can have one woman with many husbands.
Yeah.
Our religion, and also this version of the Mormon religion, it only allows polygyny, which is one man with more than one woman.
Yeah.
Now, of course, the Mormons allow unlimited wives. We have a restriction that's a maximum of 4. So the point is, there's a wave now starting here in America to legalize polygyny. I only think it's a matter of time. Muslims are not really involved with this wave, by the way, yet, but it's only a matter of time. Because
now, if we get on board, that's...
I don't have a comment about whether we should or not, because it's happening anyway.
Yeah.
There are people who are arguing. The paper that I read, it was written by somebody who's actually a secularist. He has nothing to do with the religion. But he's simply saying, look, if a person wants to take care of another woman and her children and be responsible, it's better for society to legalize it. That's a very common sense, person.
You said something, take care of her children, or her herself, just give her rights, because Now, I think it's easier on that man, let's say, who wants to have a little mistress on the side, give her some money, here, go buy some clothes, and I'll give you a call when I need you.
Exactly.
At the end, it might be a thrill for her, but in the long run,
it's harmful.
She's actually, they use the good words like girlfriend and mistress, but it's kind of like a concubine, isn't it?
It is. It is.
I mean, sir, let's be quite candid
she
here.
has no benefits, no stability. And she knows she's going to be dropped as soon as, you know, he's fulfilled with her and moves on to a younger girl or something. Whereas in a marriage, there's a lot more stability and it's public. And of course, even if a marriage ends in a divorce, it's a respectable institution where, okay, it didn't work out, a divorce happened, you know. It's not a girlfriend on the side that you're just changing. There's an element of respect and dignity with the marriage, even if it ends in failure. Not all marriages work out. So the point is that it legitimizes a human need and relationship. And it makes something which is very beautiful, it makes it legitimate and pure. Whereas promiscuity and prostitution makes something that's very beautiful, it makes it ugly and cheap. That's the difference.
This is amazing because this is, for me, and I'm sure for any truth seeker and the Muslim, this is something that is just another proof that this is the truth from the Creator. It covers every aspect of life.
Exactly. It gives you an option when you need it, and if you don't need it, then you don't need to take the option.
Because, I mean, the 3 candidates that were running for president, I mean, if they would have done this, if it was allowed, they wouldn't have to go on behind the woman's back and commit something that is most preposterous.
Exactly.
Is to commit infidelity.
Exactly.
This is something that we are running away from. We don't want girlfriends, we want wives. Because we care for them, take care of them, give them their rights. Not treat them like a concubine or a woman who's just here, fly by night.
That's the whole point. It gives you respect and legitimacy.
They did a survey. I was listening to one individual who was talking about they had surveyed some of these women that were the second or maybe the third, fourth. It doesn't have like a limit. You could be like the 10th mistress. They said if you had a, if you could be a second wife to take that role on or continue just being like this, you know, sidekick, what would you do? Almost all of them said they'd take
Exactly,
on
and the point is it's all voluntary. I mean, nobody's forcing it on any woman. If a woman wants to be in a relationship where she's a second or third wife, then legally speaking, we need to really redefine. If we're going to allow 2 men to be together, why can't we allow, you know, 2 women who want to be married to the same husband? Again, it's up to the women. I mean, nobody's forcing it on her. If she wants to and he's willing to take on that responsibility, then really it does make a lot of sense to argue for it legally.
Yeah.